to Talking Wine. We are the brains trust behind the Wine Cellars offers. Roland started these back in the day, and I think it's important to understand how these offers come about. And today we're going to try and show you how the penny drops. How do we get to a point where we go like, these are the wines that we think you have to buy. These are wines we love. These wines are wines that make us happy, and they should make you happy. And we try and give you wines across a broad spectrum, wines that offer you value, exciting international wines, and great local wines. So our first set of wines, where we're going to try and give you a glimpse of how we do it, are wines from the rockstar winemaker Reenen Borman. Reenen Borman, in collab with two other friends, have created a production brand called Ron Burgundy, and these are three of their products: a value white, a very rare and exclusive limited Chenin Blanc, and then one of the most sought after Syrahs in the country.
In fact, you said this was probably the most sought after Syrah of last year.
Yes, I think it blew us away, and it created a whole new understanding and direction of where South African Syrah is going. I think what we need to highlight though is, why do we call Reenen Borman a rockstar winemaker?
Well, I don't think a lot of people know how young he is. He's only just turned 30-ish, and
God, that's astounding.
It's astounding the detail, the finesse, the maturity that he has in his winemaking at such a young age. I think that's quite incredible. Maybe it's because he's been following his father for all this time. I mean, we remember when Jacques was the man in Syrah, and now it's his son.
But this brings us to another point, and is what we call the new wave. We've been involved with young guns, selecting great, awesome young winemakers, and Reenen Borman is the epitome of what we call the new wave and the new wave. This is not a category of winemaker that's going to go away. These guys produce wines that are absolutely cutting edge, and they are often the darlings of the international world.
He's certainly got the accolades already at such a young age. So yeah, so let's talk about how we get to a point where we taste wines, we see wines, and bam, they're in your inbox.
These wines come with a story. We've done quite a few releases on these. We've done every vintage that's been released so far. So these are wines that we look out for, and because we jump in right at the beginning, we trust our taste, we've got to the point where we are fortunate that sometimes these wines come to us. Anyway, let's start with what we have on the table today. We're going to look at two regions, and that's where it's interesting. We've got Montecchio on the one hand, and you might go, Montecchio, isn't that in the Karoo? Correct, it is in the Karoo. And then we're going to go all the way back to the heart of South African fine wine, Stellenbosch. Montecchio is a completely different kettle of fish to anywhere else, and when we speak about vintages, we can't generalize. You'll have to dive into what Montecchio is all about.
So Reenen, he fell in love with this property. I think he told me the story once that it was a friend of a friend, and they were looking to buy the farm or looking to source the grapes, and they had old vine Colombar and old vine Chenin, which back in the day would have been made for brandy, right?
Correct.
What about the Patats Blanc is cool for you?
I think it offers great value. This wine is 175 rand a bottle and brings you something that's interesting. It's got a crispness to it, but it's also got nice fruit weight, and it's got a little bit of, what do you call it, texture. There's a bit of intensity on the palate, so it's not an easy quaffing wine, it's in between. So this is a midweek wine, good with food, and it's got that broad kind of apricot-y kind of fruit on the nose. And
what about the reduction? I mean, reduction, it's a sulfide derivative. It gives you a little bit of that flinty, burnt match sort of character. Does that intrigue you? Do you like that? Is it off-putting? Where do you sit on the reduction?
It's quite interesting, because this wine is showing quite a bit of reduction. Reduction is, you specifically get it on, or often get it on screw cap. And in this case, it's something that probably blow off. It can be really interesting in the wine because it creates a sense of minerality or a bit of a fume or something that pulls through. But yes, I like it on here, and it's also an indication that the winemaker's taking his wine seriously, and he's added a bit of sulfur to protect it. Now we're moving on to the big boy. This is the Patats Fontaine Chenin Blanc, 2019. It's from a single vineyard in Montecchio, 600 meters above sea level. And what makes it unique is the soils. It's Karoo slate soils.
Yeah, fair enough.
Damn it, I had half the bottle there. So these slate soils give the wines a unique character in terms of the structure. And these are wines, because of the temperature and the cold nights, what we call diurnal temperature, there's a lot of concentration and a lovely slow ripening period. So let's see what we think of this.
Yeah. These are old vines. These vineyards were literally saved from being derelict, and they've been farmed back to health, and you're getting extremely low yield. Sometimes Reenen gets almost nothing off these vineyards, and that concentration really follows through in this wine. And it is a Syrah Chenin, and to think that this wine can compete with any of the top Chenins in South Africa, and it comes from Montague, it shows you where South Africa's gone. It's exploded.
Yeah, that's an anomaly, and I mean that is really because this is a wine that speaks of a place, a unique place. I think Chris Arlight was involved back in the day in discovering this vineyard, and what you find is you're going to get a lot of concentration on the palate. Do you get that on there?
Lots of concentration. It's still very young. But really what we're seeing in South African Chenin, if you go back 20 years, it was all about primary aromas. Now it's all about the beautiful finish to these Chenins, these old wine Chenins. Honeycomb and thatch, macadamia nut.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail on here, and it's really, this is when we speak of coated acidity. Acidity in white wine is the backbone of a wine. So here we have this beautiful, almost pineapple fruits, all that Yellowstone fruit, it's all sitting right at the back on the finish. It's a beautiful wine. To me, it's up on the 2018 in quality. 18 was quite a concentrated, dense vintage. And this has got nice refinement to it, together with the power that we're used to from this vineyard.
Price?
Price is $365 a bottle. It's super rare, and it's a finite. We get a limited allocation every year. Why do we get a limited allocation? Because the vineyard is only that big. This vineyard can only make a certain amount of wine, and that's it. So every vintage, super exciting. Allocate it and grab some if you can. This is going to be exclusive release from us, so look at our offer and revert back to that for further information.
How much? How many points?
This is a 94, 95 point wine. You know, it's solid. It's world class. So you know, if you look at 90 as your entry level, this is a wine that's something special. And I think drink 3 to 5 years from vintage, but it will last 10 years as well.
One of the cool stories in the last year or two has been Stellenbosch Syrah. I think everyone got excited about Swartland in the last decade, and rightly so. They did change the dynamic of Syrah.
After the Swartland Revolution, where Syrah was put on the map by the likes of the Molyneux, the Sardis, and the Badenhorsters, and Boekenhoutkloof, we have to mention as well. Suddenly, there's this resurgence in the Stellenbosch region, and this is one of the wines that is at the pivotal point of that. Together with the likes of Lucas van Lochenberg, a good friend of Reenen, Reineke, and Messina, which is one of our highlights last year. This is awesome stuff. I see Roland is already speechless here. What's amazing about this wine is that it doesn't see any oak. It's 100% raised in cement, and that gives it a kind of a refined, raw. The tannins in here are all from the grapes, like cornassi in a way. But anyway, I can't wait to taste it.
I've just tasted it, and what you first need to note about the wine is its light color. It's got more of a Burgundian, almost Gamay Noir type of purity and lightness to it, but with intensity and flavor that you would expect maybe from Côte Rôtie. It's got a huge amount of depth to the wine. It's not cloaked in sweetness, it's not cloaked in oak, it's just unbelievable purity of fruit. And this is what really has the new wave and the young guns have developed in the industry, is to make sure that the fruit comes through from the vineyard into the glass. Back in the day when Parker was ruling the roost, it was all about oak, ripeness, power, sweetness, and frankly this wine is not that. It's about detail, it's about refinement. Even though it's a bit rustic and raw, it's extremely detailed and refined.
And that rawness that Roland speaks about is it's a great thing. It gives the wine energy, gives it verve, and it really immediately reminds of wines, Syrahs from the Northern Rhone. Reenen is an absolute Northern Rhone fanatic. He loves those wines, and you can see how these have influenced him. And what really impresses me here is that the tannins are coated with beautiful, pure fruit. This is part of the Stellenbosch Syrah revolution, and it's spearheaded by the single vineyard called Karabib, farmed by an amazing farmer that these guys are all super excited about how he cares about his fruit. And the other two exciting producers from there is Reenen's friend Lucas van Lochenberg, who makes the graft. The graft is always going to have a wood component, because these two want to look at how their wines are going to develop in the future. Unwooded, only in cement, graft wooded. Then you've got Damascene, which is made by Jean, and Jean's passion is he's got the biggest part of this vineyard, but he adds a bit of bottle array fruit in it. So they're all different inclinations of that region, of that vineyard, but sensational, and it shows us how good South African Syrah can be. As a matter of fact, I'm at a point now where I'm wondering whether I should be buying Rhone and just skip Rhone and buy South African Syrah. South African Syrah is that good. This is so good. I'm going in for some more.
It's an enthralling wine, folks, and really this is one of the exciting wines. And we get giddy in the office. Yes, we get a little bit drunk from these sort of moments as well, but we get giddy about these wines, and that's why we do this offer. I mean, we want to write this offer and sell this wine now.
Yeah, this wine is exceptional. So, I mean, those of you that missed out last year, this is your opportunity. This was the most sought after Syrah launch of 2019. So this is your opportunity. It's awesome.
How much?
That's $365, and that is not a lot of money for something that is this special and this rare.